New Deadlock patch, new Deadlock meta, Trophy Collector OP. What are actually the best characters to carry your games with solo queue? There's a lot of items that got reworked, some really good items opening rounds. Indomitable as a new item looks really cool. And carries got nerfed. So the question is, are carries like actually dead? Is gun actually dead? Gun damage got nerfed, right? Like Viper got nerfed. And in my opinion, I think carries are still really solid unless you're Eternus Plus, which most of you watching are probably not on that level yet. All the way up to Eternus, there's still the same misplays happening. Games last longer on average in lower rank because people don't capitalize as much on mistakes. And that's completely cool, but how do we abuse that? So let's look at a character like Mina and compare it to a character like Wraith. Mina is really strong in the lane and then becomes a monster in the early mid game, but then kind of gradually falls off the longer the game goes. And Mina's strength is all in her one-shot or two-shot ability. Yes, you will still do great in the late game with your ult. It still does a lot of damage. It scales into the late game, but the strongest part of the game you have is in the mid game. Whereas if you compare it to a character like Wraith, Wraith starts off the game pretty weak, but the longer the game goes, the more farm she gets, the scarier she becomes, right? And that's really like what a carry is. So how do you use that to determine which characters you should actually pick to win? Again, games in lower rank last longer on average, which means performance is naturally skewed towards carry characters, right? So even in this patch where they nerfed gun damage and they try to make Spirit Nuker stronger, especially in the early game, carries are still performing really well. But there is a great middle ground of characters that do everything. And Mina is one of them. So my number one recommendation is Mina. If you win the laning stage, if you dominate the lane, statistically you have a way higher chance of winning the game overall. If you look at lane stats in StatLocker or new account or any other account, a winning lane leads to 2 out of 3 games won after, right? Like despite of what you may think, a lot of people think laning doesn't matter. Laning stage is the most significant stage in the game. So you just being able to win a lane will increase your chances. And Mina is great at that. Another pick I want to mention is Apollo. He did get a few nerfs in terms of spirit damage, but they actually upped his gun damage by 10%. And Apollo is one of the best users of Trophy Collector because Apollo after lane, you really just want to go around and kill people non-stop, right? So Trophy Collector on Apollo is actually crazy because he also really benefits from the range that Trophy Collector gives, but also he doesn't want to farm a lot, and jungle in general is kind of weak right now. And the reason I mention it now and not last patch Trophy just wasn't bought because it was just too expensive, right? You're giving up some of your power early to get more money later down the line, but with Trophy being that cheap, Apollo is like probably the best Trophy Collector user in the game, okay? So Apollo and Mina are characters, if you have a strong lane and a strong mid game and you gank a lot, they will 100% give you the highest chance to win right now. If you're more so a player that is playing for farm or wants to play for the carry role, number one is Warden. Warden actually did benefit from a lot of the changes in the patch, way more than other characters. He has the 4th highest base HP in the game. I think the only 4 characters that are tankier than him are Kelvin, Mo and Krill, and like one other character. Warden is actually tankier in terms of HP than both Abrams and Shiv. And I didn't even realize this until like the other week when I checked it, or the other day when I checked it. Right now, if you play Warden, you go for like an early fighting style where you max cage first, and you get an early Trophy Collector. You can go for Cultist to double dip, right? This is going to give you insane amounts of money. What really differentiates Warden from other carries right now is that he really benefits from the new Colossus, which is also a crazy item. Colossus gives a lot of base HP percentage. Okay, so the higher your base HP, the more you will have. So I have a little short question for you guys, okay? We're at 24k net worth right now, and our HP is sitting around 3,300. How much do you think Colossus will actually give us here? The answer is we are going from 3.3k all the way up to 4.2 basically. So we just got 900 HP from this one item alone. Plus it gives you, you know, the effect that Colossus gives you, which also synergizes really well with Warden, by the way, because you slow people around you, which makes it even easier to get them in the cage. Plus you get the resist, okay? In general, tanky characters are stronger, okay? Recommendation number 2 is Warden, Wraith, Venator, or Geist. One of the 4 super solid late game carries, and these still work amazing. Gun is not dead, despite of what people tell you. Players will make mistakes, you will make mistakes, your team will make mistakes, but if you farm and you play consistently throughout the game, you will carry the late game. and you will win your team the game in a 1v6 in the late game, right? That's how strong carries are, and I don't think that will ever change. And it doesn't mean carries are OP, it's just the nature of the game. We are in this community, the longer the game is going to be out, whenever it releases actually, the more people will learn what to do and they will capitalize, you know? So there will come a point eventually down the line where carries are not as prevalent anymore. But the reason carries are prevalent, again, is because people make mistakes and carries benefit the most from the game going long. The reason I did not mention 7 is he actually got even weaker this patch. He has very low base HP. And again, this is a meta where you want to be active early. Right now in the meta, you do not want to sit in jungle and farm a lot. Jungle is actually really weak. The best way to play right now is tell everyone on your team, unironically 6-5 people, to buy Trophy Collector and run around and just look for kills. It is truly a death ball slash Overwatch Marvel kind of meta where it's perma team fighting. The more Trophy Collectors you have on your team, the more you will win. For the simple reason of, let's look at a straight 6v6 fight, and let's say your entire team has Trophy Collectors, so you have 6 people with Trophy, and the enemy team only has, let's say, 3 Trophy Collectors and 3 people didn't buy it. What ends up happening, let's assume a completely even trade, let's assume 5 people on each team die. Every single person on your team will get the Trophy Collector stacks, which means suddenly you get 6 times 5 Trophy Collector stacks. The enemy team will only get half of that. The enemy team or the team with less Trophy Collectors will get less stacks, which is one of the main reasons Trophy got emergency nerfed after 12 hours of the patch being out, and it's still crazy, right? If you watch any Eternus games right now, everyone is running around with it. Do not be gaslit by people not buying it. I think the only time you don't want to buy Trophy is on characters that really want to AFK farm. If you feel like you're not super good at early fights and you're playing a carry like 7, you probably don't buy it, but on everyone else, it's just free money and the team that has more will win. Back to the topic at hand, that is really it. People come and ask me if supports are viable to win. I truly believe in Deadlock. As long as you're good on your character and you play your role correctly, you will climb, but we're talking about free wins or easy wins. On support, or even on like a hard tank like Abrams that does mostly tanking and doesn't put out insane amounts of damage himself, you are really team reliant, right? Your team has to play properly for you to get value. It doesn't matter how much you heal your team or save your team with supports if they can't do any damage. And it doesn't matter how much you tank the enemy team if your team doesn't do any damage, right? And with the matchmaking right now being pretty terrible, let's say it how it is, that means those 2 roles, tank and support, are just not very good because they're very team reliant. You want to have characters that can do everything by themselves, okay? So if you wanted like a rating, a ranking of characters that I think are strongest to solo carry right now, my number 1 pick would still be Apollo overall. I think he's just the best laner or top 3 laners in the game, and then he has like the best mid game. He can 1v6, he can frontline, he can do everything, right? He can nuke, he can tank, he can live on his own if your team doesn't follow up. So he's just super versatile, and the way you win on Apollo is win the lane and then go around mid game with Trophy and just kill everyone. There is a point where he falls off, just like Mina, but if you do a lot in the mid game, and if you get a lot of kills in the mid game, even if your team is mediocre or worse than the enemy team, they should be far enough ahead. You should have made enough space for you to win, okay? So Apollo number 1, Warden number 2, and then the number 3 pick is really a toss-up, I want to say. Again, it really depends on your playstyle. You can try Wraith, right? If you prefer the mid-game nuking style, I would recommend Mina. A lot of the other characters I did not mention again for the same reason, because they're kind of team reliant or they're just straight up really bad right now. Calico is in a really weak spot. She's a spirit nuker, but she doesn't do enough damage. Drifter is a character that relies on getting kills, but his lane is kind of weak, right? We could play this scenario out for every character. The last 2 I will mention, Holiday and Paradox. I don't think they're terrible, but again, it doesn't matter if you initiate and get a sick lasso or a sick swap if your team isn't there to follow up, right? And then characters like Infernus and Viper got gutted. They might be back. Dark Horse pick, low-key slept on, and I don't know why people don't realize. In terms of gameplay, if you play her well, Sylva is probably the best character in the game right now. She is a tank, where you do need a team, but you can very easily transition into like a pick-off, right? Where you just go around and roam and gank a lot and get a lot of kills that way, right? So silver is my secret pick if you are a tank player and you really want to play tank and carry the game that way. But yeah, that's about it. Let me know how you feel about the new meta. I hope that was somewhat helpful. If you want to see stuff like this, I can make an updated guide on these like every few patches. I'm still working on my tier list. Overall, I gotta be honest, in terms of like balance, this patch is pretty hard to read. There's like no standout super broken character right now, I want to say, other than silver, from what I've experienced, right? I think it's more so an item meta where it really matters what item you buy, not necessarily what hero you play, okay? So buy your trophy collectors, eat your veggies, buy green items. Green items are really strong. Avoid buying a lot of orange items and you should be fine. All right, see you. Until next time.